Let's make a bass instrument. Any waveform can become a bass in a low octave. Click Next and we'll get started. Select the multi-oscillator node. There are several buttons to control the timeline playback, and they all do the exact same thing. You may or may not have any of them on screen at once, but you'll always have a control nearby if you need it. For now, you can pick any one of them to hear the notes we have set up for you. On oscillators, the coarse parameter shifts the oscillator pitch in semitone steps, allowing you to easily tune the oscillator higher or lower. Since we are making a bass instrument, we need to make it lower. On the multi-oscillator, set coarse to -12. Right-click the empty graph to open the node palette in the graph editor. From Filters, add the low-pass filter to the graph. Select the low-pass node. Filters easily allow us to shape our audio by boosting or cutting frequency ranges that we choose. A low-pass filter removes high-frequency audio from our signal. We want to lower the frequency cutoff even further, so on the low-pass node, set cutoff to 250. Drag the low-pass node over the connection between the multi-oscillator and the master output and drop it on the wire. It connects itself in between the two nodes automatically. Open the node palette in the graph editor again with a right-click in the empty graph. Add a sine oscillator to the graph. This is going to become our sub-bass layer. Right-click the sine oscillator node to open its context menu. Right-click the sine oscillator and choose Rename. I recommend calling it sub-bass for this tutorial, but you can call it whatever you would like. On the sine oscillator, set coarse to -24. This brings it down to sub-bass level. Right-click the empty graph to open the node palette in the graph editor, this time to grab a mixer node. Add Mixer to the graph from the Utilities category. Drag the mixer node onto the connection running from low pass to master output and drop it to connect. Connect timeline events output to the sub-bass events input. Connect the sub-bass audio output to the mixer's input B. Press any of the timeline playback buttons to start playback and hear your instrument so far. It's a good start, but now we need some additional harmonics in the mid-range to have a more interesting bass. Distortion is a great way to do that. Open the node palette in the graph editor again. Add a distortion node to the graph. Drag the distortion node onto the connection running from low pass to mixer and drop it there. On the distortion node, set drive to 0. To visualize the effect of the distortion node on our signal, we are going to add a display node, and then create an interface to keep the display on screen while we adjust controls. Right-click to open the node palette in the graph editor again. Add the display node to the graph from the analysis category. Select the display node. Right-click the display widget, and then choose Promote to the new interface. Connect the mixer node's audio output to the display node's audio input. Select the timeline node. Click the loop button to toggle looping on the timeline. Start playback on the timeline node, and we will both hear and see our notes visualized. Select the distortion node. On distortion, slowly turn the knob for drive to between 6 or 7. On distortion, set mix to whatever you'd like. Some people like more, and some people like less. Select the mixer node. Adjusting input A's level will shape how much distorted mid-bass you hear. Input B level sets the clean sub-level. You can adjust the input knobs to how you want your bass components to sound. When ready, click Next. On mixer, set width to 0.2. We want to keep the bass tight and centered. Finally, on the mixer, you have the output gain, which adjusts the overall levels without changing the internal balance of the two inputs we are mixing. We can leave it for now. As for our bass, only the mid bass is distorted. The sub stays clean. This keeps the low end tight while the character lives in the mids. Great work!